In 3, 2, 1.
John, are we live?
We're live, sir.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of WheelHouse. We are coming to you guys on Monday instead of Wednesday because I am a brat and I'm going to Italy tomorrow for a week. So we're here 2 days early. John, before we start with our two awesome guests, because I think we're going to go through an hour real fast with these two guys.
Yep.
Any shout-outs to show up all the rest of my shout-outs?
Well, you didn't do a shout-out.
Well, I'm waiting for you because I'm going to try to one-up you. I'm never going first again with shout-outs because I'm going to make up good shout-outs from now on. I'm just going to make them up.
Yeah, okay. You're just going to talk about strangers, people
Yep.
you don't know. Awesome.
I'm going to make up a story.
One real quick shout-out. Maggie's sister, Sarah, and brother-in-law, Mike, just celebrated 10 years of wedded bliss. They've got 3 little ones running around. They're doing a great job in that department, so happy anniversary. Look forward to celebrating with you soon.
That's it?
Man. Yeah, that's all I got.
I have family shout-outs too. Good. So the 15th is my sister's birthday. So happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday.
19th is my mom's.
Wow.
And I'm going to Rome with my dad because he's speaking at a conference out in Rome about a medical research he did. He's a cardiologist, so he's been invited to speak at this conference. So he's speaking on Thursday. So I'm going with him like a proud son, and I'm really, really excited. And one more shout-out. Next week on the 22nd, the From Now On Foundation, Michaela Gordon, she's a friend of mine on the YPN. She's having an event at night. I will put a link in the comment section. Her charity's amazing. It's their annual big event. Last year was really cool. They had some people from Hamilton performing and singing. It's awesome. So excellent. I'll be there. I'll be back on the 21st. A little bit of jet lag, and then we'll be at Michaela's thing on the 22nd.
We'll power through it.
Yeah, so that'll be a blast.
Do you know where it's at?
Oh, don't put me on the spot. I have no idea. But I'll put it in the comment section. Our law firm is one of the sponsors. I love everything they do with their charity, so we'll put a link in the awesome. Comment section.
Yeah, count me in. I want to go.
Cool. You coming with?
Absolutely.
Actually, I think I do have an extra ticket because of sponsorship. Yeah. So you're my date.
Oh.
Dress sexy.
I was going to say I'm going to have to get out the heels.
Yeah. No, don't do that. You're already taller than me.
I'll let you get the heels.
Do that. Yeah, I'll wear the heels. Yeah. All right, let's get to our guests because they're both awesome, and I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to talk about. Jim Boswell is the president and CEO of Integrity LLC. Jim, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Tell us what Integrity is, and then we'll talk about that and get into Help a Hero, which is super, super cool. Can't wait to hear about that, too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on today, you and John. Integrity is a company that I started. We're a general contracting company. We do residential, commercial, and industrial construction, repair, renovation, and maintenance. So our clients expect us to do from $1,000 projects to $1 million projects, and wow. We do good at everything we do. We're reliable and dependable, and we care.
Awesome. And you've been in construction for a long time, right? We were talking off air, and we can tell you have your stuff down and everything's buttoned up. How long have you been doing it?
Well, I've been in the construction industry for 33 years since I was a teenager. I've been a business owner since May of 93, so a little over 25 years.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
What made you want to start Integrity?
Well, yeah, after working for contractors and in management level positions, so in my early 20s, I just realized that, it's not all that complicated. When you do what you say you're going to do, and people like to do business with who they like and trust, it's not all that complicated. So I decided to start my own company and do it the way, as an entrepreneur, do it the way that I thought would be best.
And I love that you call it integrity, and I love what you just said about just doing what you say you're going to do, because I feel like, and I'm in real estate, we spoke about that, I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of contractors get a bad rap because they just don't do the things that they say they're going to do. And I know when we spoke a couple weeks ago on the phone, you had mentioned that integrity, your company's and yours, you hold at the highest regard, and that's why you called your company Integrity.
Yep.
So I love that. Is that just kind of like the pivotal, pillar stone of your company, is just have good integrity?
Yeah, it is, because we all have had situations and people in our lives, unfortunately, that have not been people of integrity. So when I look to hire contractors or employees, it's one thing to be competent in your job and be able to perform, but I'm looking for people, even as I hire, of character. And so that really is the kind of the starting point for everything that we do, is that we're men and women of character and of high integrity, and everything else kind of becomes a little bit easier when you start from that basis.
I love that. Are you guys all based out of the Chicagoland area, or do you go outside of Chicago?
We do go outside of Chicago, but that would typically be for clients that trust us here.
Okay.
So when a client has multiple properties, sometimes it's easy for them to say, "Hey, look, you've done a bang-up job for us here, but I've got some property that I'd like you to look after for me." And whether it's in Wisconsin or Iowa or the surrounding states, I have done projects that have been beyond that as well, but 95% of our work or greater is really here in Chicago, Wisconsin, Northwest Indiana.
Awesome. And it's interesting that you do all three, because I know a lot of contractors, they're only going to do residential or they'll only do commercial. You guys must have a wealth of knowledge in each one, because it's not easy to do all three, because obviously have different needs and obviously different machinery and construction folks for each one, right?
That is right. Most of the work that I've done in the past, has been industrial commercial on a percentage basis. Well, some of the reason is because those projects are larger.
Yeah,
I'm getting a purchase order for $500,000 from a commercial client versus getting doing work with a residential client. It's not typically those that size. One of the reasons why we do the residential is what we're going to talk a little bit about is the Help a Hero campaign, and that's really where the residential work comes into play.
I love that. Let's get into that, the Help a Hero. Tell us what Help a Hero is and how you guys came up with it, because I love this.
Yeah, well, Help a Hero is an initiative that our company started where we can give back to teachers, which we do believe are heroes. Many people in my family and friends are teachers. Teaching in that profession has never been more difficult, I believe, than it is today. I've been a school board member for 8 years and dealing with budgets and all the things that go into being a teacher. It's tough today. So our company had an idea, as other companies have done, where when we do a project that's referred to us on our website, then we give a grant to a teacher that referred us or who was referred. And it couldn't be easier of a process. It's really self-explanatory on the website, but we just believe that teachers deserve to have a little extra help when they go on buy those things that aren't supplied by the school district. Yeah. Teachers spend a lot of money out of their own pocket, and we're able to give some or if not all of that money back just because we've been referred to do work.
I love that. And how, A, they are absolutely heroes, and B, like you said, it's becoming more and more difficult, and I this is my personal opinion, I don't think they're compensated enough for what they do. How important of a role in the character building and the education of a young kid. I don't have kids yet, but I would imagine, what's more important than making sure that your kids are looked after at such a high level when you're not around them, and that's the role of a teacher.
Agreed.
John, we're going to be able to put the websites up there?
It is.
Yeah, so for those of you watching, click on their website, obviously, and there is a link up on the right-hand side that says Help a Hero. I was on it. It's fantastic. How'd you guys come up with the idea? Was it you just being passionate about teachers and kind of that became the idea?
Yes, but there's more that goes into it. I mean, what you're doing here on your show and kind of having entrepreneurs be able to talk a little bit about what drives them. And I am a lifelong entrepreneur, yeah. And you are as well. And we think a little bit differently sometimes than as an employee that's working 9 to 5. It kind of never shuts off. It's always never on. So we've got hundreds of ideas. It doesn't mean they're all good, but this idea really stemmed from a belief that to whom much is given, much is expected. And so we just want to be able to give back. Again, it is a passion of mine because so many people in my family, including my wonderful wife, that is a school teacher. And when you talk a little bit about they're forming who kids are, my wife doesn't look at it as a job or a career. She really looks at it as it's her passion. And so again, just trying to connect those couple things, it just fits.
That's fantastic, and thank you to your wife. Have you always? So you said you've been a lifetime entrepreneur. Did you always know growing up you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Or was there an aha kind of moment?
No, always.
No. Always?
Always. When you're 8 years old and you're coming up with ideas about, as a paper route or selling Tootsie Rolls, mm-hmm. How can I do this better? It starts with something like that. And then as you get the ability to actually, start putting, some things together as you get a little bit older, I've always been an entrepreneur.
Awesome.
Yep.
Any entrepreneurs in the family that you were looking up to? Was there anybody that kind of made it so that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or was that kind of self-born inside of you?
Yeah, I don't know that I can point to anybody. Sometimes it's a dad or
Yeah.
a mom, and I don't know that I can point to anybody. But I certainly have been influenced by entrepreneurs. That many of us would know those names. One that comes to mind now. This is a little later, but the model of the Help a Hero campaign. Blake Mykoski, who started Tom's Shoes.
Yeah.
We're doing a little bit following that, that path of, instead of asking people for donations to help others, we're really taking business and these good efforts, and we're just kind of putting them together. As we're successful, we're able to help others be successful. And so it really comes out of those kind of lessons and stories by many entrepreneurs over the years.
Yeah, I love that. Ryan Cotter, we were just talking about him. Shout out to Ryan. Ryan, if you're watching, hopefully you are. He's one of our #1 fans. One of the first weeks we had on, we were talking about giving back, because something John and I love doing with the show is just pitching charities and trying to get behind charities that are either local or national, but our guests are passionate about. And Ryan's passionate about the Real Estate Rumble. And I asked him, I said, what made you want to give back? And he said, it's not what made me want to, it's my duty. I have, as somebody who's become successful, I need to give back. I have to give back. And I truly believe that. And I'm guessing that's similar to the passion that you have now.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's absolutely the driving force. And when you give back, it's not that other people see that and get a pat on the back, because my character is such that I don't need any of those.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good about who I am. So I mean, that's really where it stems from, is just me and my team, my company, we feel good about being able to do good things.
Yeah. And obviously all of us sitting here are privileged to a certain extent, and there are those who just are not as fortunate. And I agree with you. I think we should give back. We have to give back. So I love that. Do you guys have any events coming up for it, or is there anything that's coming up that could help a Hero? One of the things John and I want to do with WheelHouse is coming up towards the end of summer, maybe early fall, we're going to do an event with all the guests and hopefully do a little networking event, and all charities like Help a Hero. If there's any way we can help push Help a Hero, we'd love to. John and I were speaking about Help a Hero the last couple of weeks, and we love it. So anything coming up soon here that we can help pitch or push at all?
Yeah, nothing that's on the schedule.
Okay.
One of the reasons is it's a pretty new initiative, just in the last 60 days. So we're spending a lot of time getting to the people that really can help. So we're making those introductions, and some of those will be direct with districts, with teachers, and so forth. But we have some things in the works going into next year that we definitely would appreciate working with you and your team for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to push it, love to help out however we can. Any fun books you like reading? We always ask that question, and I'm asking it now because I have to go to a bookstore tomorrow to pick up some books for this trip. So you two both might have some influence on what I end up reading on this trip.
Yeah, I get my hands on just about everything that is has to do with leadership.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, so the Bible is something that is near and dear to my heart. But anything that has to do with leadership, I'm reading those books. Awesome. So I can, after the show, definitely give you about 12 or 15 books that I've read that I think are real influential.
I love that. And I mean, I guess you're reading it because it motivates you and it helps you lead. Do your day-to-day kind of activity at Integrity, are you in the office? Are you out on job sites? What's Jim's role on kind of a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I'm rarely in the office because I'm out with clients. I'm out with our team on job sites. My best we are a small contractor. We're not a large contractor, so my best is being out with people.
Right.
And most entrepreneurs, most small businesses, that's really what they would say the same thing. So my day-to-day changes drastically because it just depends on no matter what I've got scheduled tomorrow, something could change that. But I'm out of the office most of the time.
I love that about entrepreneurs too. I mean, it's the whole, I don't think they could ever put you in a 9 to 5 until you sit in an office. You'd probably go crazy, just like I would.
I would.
Yeah.
That would not be. That's just not how I'm made up. Yeah, for sure. I need to be out with people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I mean, I drive a lot. I drive almost 30,000 miles a year, so I sit in traffic a lot. And one of these days, we have the Chicago helicopter experience guy. One of these days, he'll have enough helicopter routes for me to just get rides places. But do you drive a lot?
I do. When you said that, yep, I drove about a little over 26,000 miles last year.
You're like
and
me.
Yeah, and so I'm on the road a lot. So everything that from not only listening to the news on on the radio, but sometimes the song music is a big deal too, because it's just there in the car so much.
You should look into Audible. I don't know if you do it or not. It's the audiobook. So I used to hate Audible because I like reading books, and some of the people's voices drive me nuts. So sometimes the narrator's voice, I'm like, I can't listen to this thing for 2, 3, 4 more hours. But some of them aren't so bad. So I've been better at reading more because I'm listening to audiobooks because I'm stuck in traffic all the time. So I mix between the radio and then Audible, and it helps my traffic-filled commute get better.
Yeah, no, I should look into that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really easy to use. Are you an early riser like a lot of people in construction?
I am. If 10 years ago I would have said I'm not, but these days for a couple reasons. One, sometimes we do a lot of asphalt, paving, and some of those jobs start early. So sometimes I'm out the door at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. The other thing is I do like to ride a bicycle, and so that's a good time to get up and go for a bike ride before I go to work too.
I love that. It's funny enough, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast last night, and I had the Dan Bilzerian episode on, and he had that bet where he couldn't bike from Las Vegas to Los Angeles in 48 hours. He made it in 32, and he was saying he had got Lance Armstrong to help him train for it. How far do you usually bike?
Well, my longest one day is 221 miles.
Whoa!
Yeah, so it's a long day.
Wow, that is a long day.
Yeah, but doing 100 miles is that would be a typical ride. I'm actually in a race in 2 weekends from now. That's 88 miles, and I hope to do that in a little less than 5 hours.
Wow, he could have used you as a coach because I think it was 270 miles, and he had 48 hours to do it, and he did it in 32. He said, although he had said he had never gotten a bike before. So you've been biking for a long time, I'm guessing.
I have, yeah. I really took a bike. I was a runner all through high school, and I've run in a number of marathons. I run an ultra marathon. I started training for a triathlon. That swimming's tough.
Swimming's tough.
Swimming's tough. So when I got into the pool, and after a few months, I really kind of fell in love with biking.
Yeah.
So at age 39, I just kind of switched over and been biking ever since.
I did the Chicago Triathlon in 2008 off of a bet where my friend said I couldn't do it. He said I couldn't do it, and then my dad laughed and said, yeah, I don't think you're going to do it either. So they both doubted me, so I said I'm going to do it. And the swimming was definitely the toughest part for me. I mean, I have these little T-Rex arms. Actually, the funny thing was my friend had a bunch of pictures of me, and it's packed. The Chicago Triathlon has, lots of people. I said, how did you get photos of me, Sean? He goes, you're the guy with the shortest arms going slower than everybody else. And I said, oh, there it is. But that's awesome. So ultra marathons too?
I did one ultra marathon.
And that's how many miles?
It's 50K.
50K.
Yeah, so it's like 18% longer than a marathon.
Wow. How long did that take?
I finished that in it was slow. I had to finish in 8 hours. I think I finished in like 7:15. I did no training. I hadn't run more than 5 miles in about maybe 3 years.
Wow.
And somebody kind of on a bet said on Wednesday that, hey, this is on Saturday. And over my wife's, my wonderful wife's objections, I went and I did this. And the first 20 miles weren't bad, but the last 11 miles almost killed me.
I mean, good kudos to you. Good for you. That's a long way. So whether it's 7 hours, 17 hours, or 27 hours, that's a long way to run. And it seems like you're that type of guy, though, that somebody tells you can't do something, and you're like, well, watch me. I'm about to go do it now.
I'm very competitive, as entrepreneurs tend to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So good luck. When's the race, the 88-mile race?
That is 2 Saturdays from now. The 26th, I think we're going. It's actually a Sunday. I think the 27th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's Race the Lake up in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin,
Okay, yeah.
around that lake. So to Oshkosh and Appleton and
Yeah.
around the lake. I'm doing it with a dear friend of mine, Mike Adamley.
Okay.
So we're going up there. He invited me, so we'll be there in a couple weeks.
I have a place up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, which is a little bit further than that. But yeah, that's awesome. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
What kind of bike do you have?
I have a truck.
Okay.
It's a Madone 5.2. Very expensive bike, lightweight bike, but I love it. I ride it daily.
That's what I realized when I was looking at bikes, because I was just doing it for a bet, and I bike a little bit, but it's a road bike. And I started looking, because I'm a car guy, so I start looking at all the different bikes. They got carbon fiber this, carbon fiber that. You can have a $10,000 bike when you're all said and done. It can get real expensive.
You can. Now, my bike is about a $3,600 bike. I paid a little less than that for it, but some friends of mine have a Trek 7 Series that are between 10 and 12,000 because they don't switch gears like even mine does. They actually are electronic. So when you just touch it, it actually an electronic signal actually takes it perfectly, puts it on the chain ring. So they're $10,000 to $12,000 for sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's crazy.
I get fascinated by this stuff because it was crazy that you brought that up, because last night I was watching that video and laughing at him trying to train to do it. And the bet was $1 million too. It ended up being $1 million bet. What he was saying was that apparently all these guys that gamble, they'll just make the most random bets. They'll say, hey, I'm not going to bet you $15,000 to just jump in the Shark Tank at Atlantis. And then someone will just jump in. So he made it originally a $600,000 bet, but he took so many side bets that the bet ended up being $1 million. And he had 48 hours to do it.
Wow.
So they gave him 6 weeks to train, 48 hours to go 270 miles, and he took the bet. But I guess the guy had gone through 2 sets of Navy SEAL training, so he was probably a mentally strong enough guy to figure out in 6 weeks how to just do it.
Yeah, I would say though, as I've biked, 30,000 miles,
Wow.
for somebody that hasn't biked 270 miles, that trip, if it's hot through the desert,
hot,
that would probably be pretty difficult for most people.
Yeah.
But that would be certainly something that I would like to do.
Yeah, they wouldn't bet you $1 million. They're not going to bet you $1 million. You would do it in 24 hours.
We'd
You'd
get
be
it
done pretty quick.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of the entrepreneur stuff, any advice or a learning experience we could give the people listening that you've learned along the way? A piece or two.
Man, there's probably a lot of
Yeah,
things,
probably
but
tons of
one thing that entrepreneurs, as you'll see on Shark Tank, not all ideas are great ones. So I have 100 ideas, but what I've learned is that I need to find a couple people that have some wisdom, that you can bounce some ideas off, that say, hey, probably not your best idea. I get it, but it's probably not something that is you need to spend some more time on it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a piece of advice that I probably did not take near enough up until maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And now there's some people in my life that I'm able to bounce those things off to kind of vet through some of those ideas. Again, they're not all great ideas, but when you find one that is, then you got a winner, and you put everything you have into that one. But find some people you can trust, and that'll really give you honest feedback.
I love that, and we've talked about having a mentor or a accountability partner a lot here, having somebody you can bounce stuff off with, and I think that's super important. But I think what's also super important is that you're self-aware enough to know that sometimes you might not have great ideas, because I think especially early entrepreneurs, sometimes they get in their own way thinking, yeah, like you said, like these are my ideas, and they fall in love with it, and they'll push a bad idea until it pushes them off of a cliff, instead of being self-aware enough to recognize, okay, maybe it's not a great idea, it needs to be massaged to become better, or maybe I'll just scrap this and go a completely separate way. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, and one more thing about that is that if you're not as able to pitch an idea if it's yours.
Right.
So if you ask me to go buy a car for you, I'd negotiate probably the best deal that you'll ever get. If you go and negotiate for yourself that same car, you're probably going to spend more money.
Yeah.
The reason is because you don't want to walk away and say no, where somebody else has a little more ability to not be so controlled by the idea of I really want that car even if I spend more money. So that's the same thing with an idea.
I love that. I'm going to segue, because you bump and set this for me perfectly by saying Shark Tank, because our second guest, Corey Warfield, is the CEO of Shedwool. tell us what Shedwool is, and then tell us what you guys have been up to at Shedwool, because he said Shark Tank. I know you guys haven't been on Shark Tank, but you guys got a lot of cool stuff going on and a little Shark Tank connection too.
Yeah, we've got a couple ancillary connections to the tank. Basically, I spent 20 years of my life in restaurants and started off as a dishwasher, moved to busboy, waiter, became certified as a sommelier, worked my way up kind of in the corporate world where I had the southeast region of our company, a number of restaurants underneath me. And so I did that for about 10 years, and I realized my best waiters at my best concepts were making a lot more money than I was, even if I was to make all my bonuses. So I went back and waited tables. I did that for almost 10 more years. Came back to Chicago. I had some aging family, and so I was at Ruth's Chris for a number of years, helped open Mastro Steakhouse for a number of years, and I was there until I came up with the idea for Shedwool. And in the hospitality industry, every week, every department, people's schedules change. And you don't know if you're working the next day, you're on call, you don't have a way to necessarily get a shift covered. When I got married in Mexico, we were on the beach down in Playa del Carmen getting married, and they literally thought I was working because they had a mix-up, and thank God we had software that they were able to use and mitigate that, because obviously I wasn't going to leave my wedding and hop on a plane to come wait some tables for a night. But when we got bought by a large company, they took our scheduling software away from us. And spending about 10 years in the restaurants without software and 10 years with software, I knew how imperative it was. And they took it away because it was so expensive, and we kind of started to freak out. And so I took it upon myself. I tried to put together some Google Sheets and some Facebook groups, and nothing was going to work at all. And so I tried to find a more affordable solution, and there just wasn't one on the market. So this pain point, I absolutely knew how to solve it with software. I realized there wasn't a good affordable software solution on the market. So I got some mentors together, like you said. I learned a little bit of code and programming, put some wireframes together, put a team together. We developed our MVP, launched last year. Had about 4,000 signups last year. This year, Capterra named us number 10 on their 20 best affordable scheduling softwares, top 10 results on the Google Play Store. And so we're having a lot of fun. And we've found a way to optimize outside of the hospitality industry for healthcare, for security, police, fire. We have a number of industries that are using our schedule to just put their schedules together, Shedwool being a play on the word schedule. And so we're having a lot of fun, and we're kind of in stealth mode with what's coming next. I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. But we think that we've just kind of cleaned and streamlined the scheduling process using software and apps.
I love that. Congratulations. To go from an MVP last year, so for those that you don't know, minimum viable product is like kind of the starting piece of an app, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And from there to now being top 10 on Google Play and all that good stuff, kudos to you guys, because that's not easy to do. In a crowded space.
Super crowded, 140 competitors here. And I say this humbly, but we've bootstrapped the entire company, so we didn't take on any funding. And so a lot of people are kind of surprised by that. I think our average competitors raised about $15 million. One of our closest competitors was just bought for $346 million by Intuit in January. So, of course, that's when my phone started ringing, and that's when we passed on our first multi-million-dollar offer for the company the month or so after that. And yeah, we're just heating up. We're literally we're the new kids on the block, and we're just getting started.
Good for you. You got to already get an offer too that fast, multi-million-dollar one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's going to be several more figures behind that, I'm sure, the next time you guys consider a sale.
I counted with 100 million. We laughed about it, and we're still friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. So yeah, tell us stealth mode, whatever you can, whatever you can't. We obviously won't talk about, but what's kind of next steps for you guys?
Yeah, so I'm that renegade entrepreneur. I don't have an MBA. Thank God I have a team that's much smarter than myself, and they probably wish they were in this room to be pulling at my shirt sometimes. But what I've identified is that no one in the gig economy has found a way to meet companies where they live, which is their schedule. So right now, if a restaurant needed a cocktail waitress or a hostess, or a general contractor needed an electrician, they would literally have to decide what company to go with, go to their website, see if they had anybody available, put that job out, hope that someone were to fulfill it. Well, we have data points on thousands of workers, across the country right now. We've partnered with a staffing agency that has 30,000 workers coast to coast. They've been in business 13 years. They'll break $2 million in revenue this year, and they've got all these workers. They've got work for them, but they don't have 40 hours of work a week for these people. And so we're looking to leverage our platform so that if an employer needs someone that's qualified and available, they can push a button and get it fulfilled. So
love that.
Yeah, people are rightfully saying that we're kind of trying to do the Uber for work thing.
Right. I was about to mention that.
It's so cliche, but there's no better way to put it.
Hey, it's a brilliant model of connecting folks, and it's quick, and it gets rid of all the pain points in between of trying to. and the labor-intensive points of trying to go and find that person and then connect with them.
And then this is
Good
the
for you
cool
guys.
part. I'm involved with 2 video game companies. I sit on the board of one of them. They're building us a prototype for a video game that lives in the app that a temp worker can play to get caught up to speed, whether it's a job site for OSHA safety, whether it's a restaurant, find your table numbers, where's the ice, where's the food, pick it up. If it's a broiler cook, what size are our steaks, take it off the grill at the right time, automate all that. So we're getting into training both for existing employees and
Wow,
for the
what a
temp
value
workers.
add.
Yeah.
What a value add. Because, yeah, I guess if you're going to take somebody as a temp status and throw them in there, you want to make sure that they're at least somewhat knowledgeable in the process over there.
And see who
Brilliant.
scored well. If 10 people want the job and one of the person,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Very, very smart. I mean, you obviously took a wealth of knowledge and experience you had in that realm and have taken it and you've modernized it. I mean, you've put it into something that's efficient, but then now works with technology. Whereas I feel like that industry in general is a lot more technologically advanced than our real estate industry because I feel like real estate's really kind of archaic still. But holy smokes, good for you.
We've got a number of realtors looking at using us to actually schedule their showings. as well.
Showings?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. I'm going to have to talk to you off air about a lot of this stuff because the hamster wheel is spinning now. What you always want to be an entrepreneur, just like as Jim, or you just kind of fell into it because you saw a need and then you ran with it?
Totally from the need. I was kind of, I've always been a wheeler and a dealer. I always had my amazing ideas, and my wife will tell you she's very, very smart, much smarter than me. She'll tell you that most of my great ideas are terrible. So it's probably
See, that's his person, his wife. Nice and honest to him.
Mine too.
Yours too. I need a wife.
But I've had so many ideas that I thought could be amazing, and I think for better or for worse, I just didn't take action. But this was one, when I had the idea and realized the potential and realized the need, and then coupled with the fact I realized there wasn't anything on the market, that we really had this opportunity. The sniff test was, I told my wife, and I think for the first time ever, she was like, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you say?
Yeah.
So we're doing this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I've never heard that before. I don't think I've heard it since, so...
Well, all it takes is one amazing idea, and I think you got it. I mean, obviously, you guys have grown. You're turning heads. Tell me about this Damon Johns thing that you guys did, because that's pretty cool.
So
into the Shark Tank.
Thanks. Yeah, last year we went through an accelerator program, and I got to do our demo day, pitched a couple thousand people, and that video, people really kind of resonated with the performance, and so I submitted to the Miller Lite Tap the Future event for their pitch contest, and they did some outreach and saw that video, and they said, we'd love to get you in as a semifinalist in Houston, and Damon John is affiliated with that, and he's the judge. So I flew down there and I pitched, and it's one of those things. One of the reasons we're not doing Shark Tank or anything like that, the reason that we haven't taken on VC funding is our revenues are still relatively modest. People really want to see that huge hockey stick before they want to come all in,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were actually in the process of launching our premium model from our open beta at that time. So, they were intrigued. They had a couple other judges. I think the pitch went really well. They saw the vision, but I think we were a little early stage for them.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's hard to articulate. I think I had 5 minutes to present the entire thing. So.
That's what I'm finding is hard too. I don't shut up. I keep talking, and we haven't got to the point. We're very modest too with our tech startup where we could go to a VC company yet. But I feel like a lot of times people will say, "What are you guys doing?" And I want to explain all of it because there's so much that's gone into it. But everything feels like it's got to be so condensed. And I almost feel like, give me some more time to explain the background. But it's really tough condensing all your amazing ideas and like a year's worth of work into. Here's, you got 5 minutes, and you got to show a demo, and you got to make sure that everybody understands it.
So I had an experience where my investor pitch deck, in my opinion, is amazing. If you read the whole thing, you'll know everything about the company, what we do, where we've been, who's in our pipeline, who are current users, what are all of our KPIs, our key performance indicators, and it's all there. And in my opinion, if you're going to write me a check for $200,000, you want to know this.
Right.
Well, so I was in a post accelerator last year in Vegas, and some kid, great kid, has a company, and he had just raised $250,000, and I asked to see his pitch deck. 8 slides, most of them had no more than 5 words on them. I'm like, I have no clue what you do. He's like, yeah, that's all they needed. I was like, did they really do some diligence? He's like, nope, they loved it. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been telling them way too much. I've been spilling the secret sauce all over their labs.
Yeah.
They can probably go out and replicate what we're doing, whereas this guy put a couple pictures together and $250,000. So, it's I think there is a lot to that. Leave something to be desired.
Yeah.
Give them room to ask questions. Don't,
Yeah.
and it's just like dating, right? If you go up to a girl and tell her your life story, and they don't need to date you. If you go up and you say, pitch Damon John on Shark Tank, and now I'm a brand ambassador of his as well for his new book, which I love. So I've had an opportunity to talk to him and to meet him a few more times, and he's supportive of what we're doing.
Very cool. What's his book? Because since I'm looking.
So his first book that I loved was called The Power of Broke. Highly recommend that.
Okay.
His new book is called Rise and Grind. Love that one. I have a couple copies at home if you want it. I can see about giving you one, but I just did a giveaway on LinkedIn yesterday. Announced the winners today. I'm giving the copy.
I'm going to go to the bookstore. I'll get one. But I love the advice. I love watching him on Shark Tank. And I followed him a little bit. I've read some of his articles. He's a good entrepreneur.
The book's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. You guys are Chicago-based, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, our office is out in Berwyn right now, and then we do the WeWork thing down here. And then, often enough, I work out in my house because I have the two most amazing mastiffs in the world, and they love to make sure that I'm doing a good job and watch over my shoulders.
How big are they?
So I got a 100-pound mastiff, and then I've got a 70-pound Connie Corso. She's the world's smallest big dog. Her mom was 140 pounds. She had these huge paws, and every day she's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then she just stopped. So she's amazing, but she's tiny.
I have a 130-pound German Shepherd, so he's a huge German Shepherd, and he was the opposite. He didn't stop growing. And I had German Shepherds growing up, and I had a 90 and a 95-pound, and he had these bear paws. His dad was the biggest German Shepherd I ever seen, but his mom was small. His mom was like 70, 75 pounds. We didn't know how big he's going to get, and he just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And he howls at sirens and stuff, so people come over, and they're freaked out because, like, you got a wolf living at home. But I feel you. Love big dogs. How old are they?
So my big guy is almost 10, and my little girl's 3.
3. So mine's 9, and I've been kicking around getting him a puppy. But he's slowing down a little bit at 9. He's a little bit of a big guy, so he's slowing down a bit. So now I feel bad that he doesn't have a buddy, but I also feel like if I got him a puppy and the puppy wore him out too fast, I'm going to feel bad there too. So I'm so torn on if I should get him one or not.
He'll love it. It's going to make him feel young again. And it's kind of like me. I married younger. My wife's 9 years my junior, and so she keeps me young. Now that I'm in my 40s, and it was great. I was like in my late 30s with this early 20s wife, and it was amazing. And
you don't look like you're in your 40s.
Thank you.
I mean, John's in his 40s. Look at that guy. Oh, keep one-upping me on those shout-outs. Every once in a while, I'll place a good joke. You definitely don't look like you're in your 40s.
I appreciate it. I was the guy that looked super young until I started a company, and starting to lose the hair.
You're barely graying in your beard. I'm graying in my beard. I'm 34 next month, so I'm getting closer to 40.
Yeah, I would have guessed you quite a bit younger as well.
Yeah, no. I was at Binny's not so long ago, and it said we card under 40, and she wasn't carding me. So I looked at her. I said, "Hey, do I look 40?" She goes, "You're close enough." And I was like, "Ouch!"
Wow.
Yeah, no card. So yeah, I'm getting up there. The whole tech thing. Are you guys eventually going to try to go to the VC level, or is this something you guys are thinking? Hey, listen, we got a pretty cool concept here. This might be something we hold on to.
So we've been flirting with a couple acquirers. We're talking to our target acquirer right now. They've encouraged us to launch our app on their app store environment, and they'd be watching us as a potential acquisition. So we're looking at either if we bring on any capital, which is we're not necessarily sure that we want to right now. We're just reinvesting any of our revenue, and it's working out pretty well.
Good for you.
We're looking to potentially do a friends and family round. We've got some people showing a little bit of interest there. Something really small, probably 5 figures. And then 3 of the companies that we've been talking to are now looking at their venture arms, and they're talking real numbers, real math. I think that they've got some agenda as well. But I think if we were to take on a substantial investment, I don't want to go the VC route. I don't want someone telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And especially they had their chance a year ago. At this point, we're here on our own volition. Yeah. An angel, if someone's in the space, they want to get passionate, roll their sleeves up. We're part of 1% for the planet. I can't wait to give a substantial amount of what we either sell for or make in revenues back to make the world a better place. So I'm not greedy, and so that said, happy to give someone 10-15% of the company. I've got a good amount set aside for my early hires, and so they all know that they'll have ownership. And we're just trying to establish that culture and let it flow down.
Good for you. What's the 1% for the environment for those who might not know?
So 1% for the planet is an amazing initiative where any company can pledge to donate 1% of their revenue or their time or kind of a hybrid model to make the world a better place. So we do Habitat for Humanity. I work with young adults with autism. I help them assimilate into the workforce, and so a lot of it's just charity work. I'm an entrepreneur in residency with Berwyn Tech. We're involved with the Wozniak Foundation, WazU as well, and so some of that I do from them is pro bono, and it's just basically paying it forward. Especially a company like us that's making what we're making in revenue, which isn't laughable, but it's not changed the world money yet. So if we can put our time and some of our actual energies into that instead right now, it's pretty valuable.
I love that. I'm going to get the information on that from you because that is very, very cool. And I love that both of you are so charitable with your time and giving back. I love one of your quotes because it's one of the quotes I love best is fail forward. You said fail fast and fail forward. And if you remember last week, John, we had one of our guests who said his favorite quote was fail fast. I said one of my favorite is fail forward. Yours is fail fast and fail forward.
Yeah.
So you've like put both of them together. I love that. Tell us about that.
So I think that probably early stage I made a lot of mistakes just being a first-time founder and kind of having a bunch of people. A friend of mine had raised $25 million for his company here, brought their valuation to a comfortable $150 million valuation. And so when we started off, he was in my corner telling me what to do. Well, his company took two down rounds, and his stock is virtually worthless now. And I mean, he did a lot right and wrong too. But so I'm listening to him while he's learning from his mistakes in real time. I have other people that are kind of telling me what they would do if they were me. I find out afterwards, like, some of these people have never done it. So I think I was just listening to too many different voices in my ear. I read The Lean Startup. That changed my life. I think that's when I realized, like, I can take on all these mentors. I can listen to all of this amazing advice, but I need to filter it. Just because someone's raised, tens of millions, or just because someone has this perceived persona doesn't mean that they know what's best for me or my vision.
Yeah.
And so for me, if I don't make the mistakes personally, I'm not going to learn from them. And now I've tried to cultivate kind of a personality. I'm really active on LinkedIn, and I think we found that if we share our mistakes with each other, at the very least, it can give you something to go out and A/B test. It's like, hey, when he did that, it sucked. Let me go try it too and make sure it really sucks.
Yeah.
And, because everyone lives their own reality.
Yeah.
And but I do think having those earlier losses has set us up for some of these bigger wins that we have coming in the pipeline.
I love that, and it's you're not looking at mistakes at such a negative thing. You're looking at them as a learning experience, and then moving on from it, and then helping teach other people, like you said, having a platform where you can let other people know this worked or didn't work. That's also very nice of you, especially in the tech world where your intellectual property is kind of protected, but kind of not protected. So kudos to you. That's a very confident move as well, and a very helpful one.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about you? With obviously you're very successful and been in business for a long time. Have you found that as time has gone on, failing at something has become easier because you look at failure differently than you did when you were younger?
Yeah, absolutely. Something I heard some time ago was sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and that's a different way to look at and that's losses. Sometimes they just help you in future decision making. So it's not that you always have to necessarily look at it like a loss. I've learned something that is going to be valuable to me.
Yeah, I think as you guys are both very successful entrepreneurs, I think as you succeed in business, you realize there's no way you get to a successful level without having failed a bunch of times. I feel like people use failure as such a negative connotation. When I look at it as if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. And if you're failing, you're not learning. If you're not failing, you're not learning, because there's no successful entrepreneur that's made it to a successful level without tons of setbacks, tons and tons. And I've sat with tons of people who are successful and they're like, I failed this many times, whereas a lot of people fail once or twice and then they stop. I mean, especially in the contractor side of things, in the tech world too, there's tons of contractors that, they've had bad times, had failures, and then especially in the last downturn in the market, a lot of people had failures, and then some of them have come back and they're doing it again, and some of them got so, I think, broken up about that last downturn that they're not around anymore.
Yeah, it's tough when you, especially that 9, 10, 11, 12 were tough in contracting. They were tough all over, but some of those jobs, they just haven't come back. The right now talking about how, the economy's great and unemployment's low and all that, it's not necessarily that, the jobs that were here, that they're here again. People are finding different ways to find jobs and different ways to make a living, even taking on more than one job, at a time. But you still got a scrap out there. It's not like the 90s or the early 2000s when everything was just flowing and there was work for everybody. It's not like that. You got to be sharp. You got to be on your toes, and you got to go to work every day ready to hit it.
You have to innovate. And I love the saying that every no is just one step closer to a yes, but I also think every failure is one step closer to a success.
I love that.
You know, it's just this different way of thinking. It's like, yes, I just failed. That's amazing. Like, I literally am one whole step closer to the success. And then I couple that with some knowledge that some people that we've all heard of in this room that have changed the world in different ways did it on a failure. They tried something, they failed, and they're like, oh, but... You know, wow, why didn't I ever think of this? And they would have never known, or they would have never got into that had they stayed the course and not, tried something a little bit crazy. So I definitely think that you got to innovate. And I think you're right. People are getting resourceful. Mother being the necessity of invention, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, we're in such a cool time of innovation too. I mean, this is a cool time where technology is moving at such an exponential rate. I think I was reading something that said the last 5 years worth of technology, we've beat the prior 50 years. It's that exponential. You can do so much more quickly now and efficiently that it forces you to innovate, because it levels the technology levels the playing field for a lot of people. The average person's playing field's leveled, so you got to innovate and take a big step further. I like the feel fast part too, which is, and it kind of touches on what you said about, sometimes you hold on to bad ideas way too long because you're married to them, because they're your ideas, and nobody, you guys have wives that thankfully tell you guys, no, don't do them. But, a lot of people hold on to ideas, whereas if you can get out of your own head and, fail fast maybe, or get rid of that idea fast, that takes you so much further, which I love. Do you have any other plans, I'm back to you, Corey, on other tech ideas that you want to start? Because I feel like a lot of the tech people that I speak to, like I got a good buddy of mine, Ray Lyle, who's done a lot of different tech startups, and he's in different businesses now. Are you starting to feel like you want to do something else tech related too? Because tech people seem to go from growing a company and then you're itching to grow something else, or you have other ideas that came from Shedwool that you want to.
So I currently mentor 12 companies. I'm with the Founders Institute. I'll be there doing my first mentorship session as well. So I've got my sleeves rolled up. I'm excited about what everybody else is doing. But for me personally, my next big step's not as much tech. It marries tech, but I've got some pretty cool, and I've done some very, very light prototyping, but I've got some ways that I think will be perfect for the deep sea and the bottom of the ocean exploration, potentially to be extrapolated going up into space as well, interplanetary. And so it is very doable. We have all the technology right now. And so that's kind of my big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah, it's, on the one hand, there's got to be so much wealth and technology, and that we just don't know anything about the bottom of the oceans, and it's literally under our feet. But it's become a lot more realistic, even in the last 10 years.
You're going to be the reverse Elon Musk. He's going to Mars. You're going all the way down.
Yeah. Well, his boring company making these holes and wormholes is pretty consistent with what I'm doing as well. So, yeah, he and I have some similarities and some pretty substantial differences, I think, ideologically. But I know some people that know him, and one person mentioned my idea to him, and I guess it didn't really catch fire with him. I think he's living his own reality.
Or maybe it caught fire and he just didn't let people know it caught fire.
There you go. Yeah, well, I think James Cameron would be really excited about what we're looking to do with our deep sea and then ocean floor exploration.
Good for
being
you.
a sommelier, I saw a story a couple years ago. They found a boat that had sunk off the coast of Russia 100 years ago, and it had these cases of champagne that was on their way to the royalty. And because of the speed that it went down and the pressure and the darkness, these bottles of champagne were preserved perfectly.
Get out of here.
And so they're being auctioned right now. They're still available, but just to think that there is this amazing 100-year-old premium cuvee champagne at the bottom of just a sea tells me, gosh.
And it's preserved.
Preserved perfectly.
That
it
is
couldn't have been
interesting.
cellared better if it had never
Unbelievable. And it was, I failed at science miserably. I was pre-med bio and then eventually went to law because I was not very good at science. So bear with me here. It was the pressure and then the speed in which it went down would preserve it?
Everything was perfect. And then the fact that there was no light, because light, the reason a lot of champagnes and colored bottles are beer is so that the different spectrums don't spoil the beverage.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just the perfect combination of everything.
Very cool. That's way out of left field from tech, but very, very cool. And you're obviously a lot smarter guy than I am. And
Not
then you said your
necessarily,
wife is a
but-
lot smarter than you, so she's like 20 times smarter than me.
Well, and there's a book I'm reading right now called Meet Me in Atlantis, and it's kind of a combination of fiction, nonfiction, but it's about people using science and the scientific method to try to discern where Atlantis could be. But that's an awesome book I recommend as well. That's
Meet Me in Atlantis.
Meet Me in Atlantis.
Okay, I got like 18 hours of flight time, so I'm gonna have a lot of reading to do.
Well, the Jim Rohns and the Think and Grow Rich, all these
Yeah,
books
yeah.
are cool.
I've read a lot of
However,
them.
if you want something that reads a little bit more like Indiana Jones, you can still extrapolate a couple, tidbits from. Highly recommend that book.
Very cool. Speaking of Atlantis, not the Bahamas Atlantis, but it got me thinking this. Any favorite travel spots?
So my favorite travel spot's called Dominica. It's in the Caribbean.
Okay.
It's you fly to Miami, then Puerto Rico, and then you take a little puddle hopper. And my brother-in-law has a house down there and grew up going there. So when we go there, we know everyone from the politicians and the local store owners, and they'll throw a party for us every time we go down there. But it's also where they filmed 2 of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So they have the Black Sand Beach down there, an active volcano. So it's ecotourism. There's literally a boiling lake where it's boiling because of the volcano underneath it, and everything about that island is amazing. They climb up, get you pineapples and coconuts, and they'll go.
When I read your sheet, I thought you misspelled Dominican, and that is a completely different place.
Yeah,
Very
Dominica.
cool.
A lot of people haven't heard of it. It was
I've never heard of
Maxim
it.
Magazine's top tourism spots. One of the hottest ecotourism spots in the world.
Very, very cool. How about you, Jim?
Well, that sounds like a very cool place.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go
I
there
might have to
soon.
check that out. We every year, our family after Christmas, we go to Fort Myers Beach.
Okay.
And that's become like a little home away from home.
Awesome.
So for 11 or 12 days, and we just think of family and just have some fun on the beach and go to wake up and go to sleep to the ocean every night. So
They have good deep sea fishing there, don't they?
They do.
They do, because I have a friend of mine that deep sea fishes, and I think he goes down there to start, and then he ends up getting down to the Keys, and he does a lot of deep sea fishing out there.
yeah, fishing is really really good, and even at that time, after Christmas, it's very good fishing.
Yeah, great weather too. I'm gonna have to check.
Can I
this
give
Dominican
a
out.
quick shout out to
Yeah.
an entrepreneur friend? Joe Pippins has a company called the Fishing Caddy. It's an all-in-one fishing system. I highly recommend anybody that fish checks it out. They're in Cabela's, and basically it holds your poles. It's got sensors and lights, and it stores your bait and tackle and fish. And basically you carry one thing that's much lighter to your fishing destination rather than a whole bunch of stuff. And it's
Oh, awesome.
super cool.
It's Fishing Caddy.
The Fishing Caddy, yeah.
Fishing Caddy.
Steve Harvey, he won the Thunderdome on Steve Harvey's Thunderdome recently. So
Very cool.
Yeah, they gave him some capital. He was a crowd favorite.
Have you guys seen it's like Shark Tank, but for like sporting stuff, like the active entrepreneur? I forget what it's called. John's shaking his head. You've seen it, and they always have athletes and stuff as the VCs. But what the heck is it called? It's going to bug me now. I've watched
Me
it a
too.
couple times.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. And the name.
Because they had a fishing one on there, and I was thinking maybe that was on there, but apparently not. But that show's kind of fun to watch. Although the VCs they're just athletes turned venture capitals. They're not, and some of them very successful. So I shouldn't say it like that. But they're not like the Shark Tank guys, like
When you get
Damon and-
A-Rod and all those guys on the Shark Tank, and it's cool for that different perspective, but it is just a completely different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, that mindset you see sometimes of any of those guys up on Shark Tank, just breaking down the business and why it might or might not work. That's a trained eye and a trained ear really kind of breaking that stuff down at a high level.
And we're talking failure. What about Mark Cuban? Half
Yeah.
the stuff he touches we've never heard of because it failed so bad, but he just doesn't care. He's casting these wide nets, planting a lot of seeds. He had a communication platform recently called Cyberdust, and he was super bullish on it, and it did nothing, and then now it doesn't exist. And it proved positive that not every failure is a step towards success, but all the successful people fail and fail often.
Yeah. I love one of his tips. It's one of my tips that has really made me less of a procrastinator. It was, if something takes less than 5 minutes, do it now. Don't put it off, because what he said was humans are naturally procrastinators. It sucks when somebody says, well, that person's a procrastinator, because everybody naturally is. But what he basically said is, if an email takes 5 minutes to do, if I have to take my laundry and throw it in, he probably doesn't do his laundry anymore. But At some point he did. If I had to put that laundry in the washing machine, it takes less than 5 minutes to do. I'm thinking about it. I just do it instead of putting it off, so that I don't have a mountain of small tasks. And it's something I've been pitching to a lot of my staff is, hey guys, like, don't procrastinate the little stuff, because a lot of little stuff adds up to be big stuff. So even if it's a call I have to make, and I dread making phone calls. I get 1,000 voicemails a month, and my phone drives me nuts. So, but I'm like, if this takes 2 minutes, I'm just going to do it. And that was a Mark Cuban tip. You know, he's especially efficient is what I've read. But yeah, he's another guy who's failed a lot. Is it any entrepreneurs that you really kind of look at and you like listening to and look up to?
So, I mean, you mentioned Joe Rogan. He's not as much of an entrepreneur. However, I admire the heck out of him.
Me too.
You know, I go back and forth with Gary Vee. We're in similar circles now, and I've been kind of trying to poke the bear on him because I think he's too mean. I think he's abrasive. He's telling everybody that they're not trying hard enough and that they're slacking. It's like, dude, I've been working 100 hours a week without one day off for 2.5 years with Shedwell, and if you're going to yell at me and tell me I'm lazy, I'm going to turn you off.
Yeah.
Like, whatever awesome stuff you were about to say after you got done yelling at me and calling me lazy is absolutely arbitrary, because we're not going to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe some people need to hear that. But so I do love some of his teachings, but I think if I were to call out some of the entrepreneurs that I really admire, someone for me, and we're linked in connection, so hopefully he sees this later, but Tim Draper out in Silicon Valley, he was one of the first people to invest in Uber and Bitcoin, and he's now got a university to help entrepreneurs, but he is kind and he's forward thinking. And for me, I need an entrepreneur to get rid of the ego. I see ego.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people, you're sure they're going to be in the next 100 millionaire, billionaire, and then they just don't, because they're not nice.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do business with them, if you don't want to, you know, have them on your board or whatever it is, you know, I think that what I'm finding is empathy is everything. Listening to your customers. You don't tell them what they want. You ask them what they want. They'll tell you. Same thing with an entrepreneur. If an entrepreneur is just telling me about their idea, it's like, well, then I can't help you.
Right.
You know, if you ask me what I think of your idea and you genuinely want to hear my advice, I might be able to help, or I might at least be able to point you in the right direction. So I'm sure I can name quite a few, but Tim Draper really is, he's someone that I admire quite a bit. As much as I want to go toe-to-toe with Elon and with Gary Vee, I'd say I do admire both of them for kind of what they put together. But Gary Vee's hilarious. He loves to talk about how he came from nothing, and it's like, no, your parents' liquor company, like, you like to say that you're the one that built it up, but they had a company. Like, it was a million.
It was wine.com or something.
Wine
right?
Library.
Wine
yeah,
Library.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to him, but again, yeah, he's abrasive. And I'm very much the exact opposite. I do a lot of coaching and training for realtors, and I'm not a very aggressive guy. I'm kind of a nicer, you know, coach than Gary might be. How about you, Jim? Anybody you like listening to?
You know, I not somebody that just comes to mind. I like Corey said a lot there. I like people that are nice and genuine.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. You know, so yeah, we talked a lot about Shark Tank, but I really dig somebody that's got an idea that I never would have thought of before, and I'm like, now that's a simple, you know, yet, you know, really great idea. That drives me, because it makes my mind focused, you know.
Yeah. Are you, on a day-to-day kind of basis, overlooking, you guys said you guys are smaller, but do you overlook the entire staff, or do you have somebody that, you know, you oversee and then they oversee the staff?
Yeah, we have some in business development, some in project management, but I pretty much
oversee it all.
Yeah, look over, you know, all of our employees. You know, I'm involved in business development, operations. You know, and then, you know, as a small contractor, small business owner, you have to be an accountant, you have to be you know, insurance, you need to know legal, you know, everything, and so you try to, you know, snatch some people that can help you with those areas, and just go out and do your best.
Yeah, you put on a lot of hats as an entrepreneur, especially up front. You got to learn so much. It's funny, you know, you were saying you read a lot. My dad I just remember growing up, and I would watch him reading. And I was like, why does he read so much? I mean, I was like, you know, in high school and college, and I lived at home during college, and I would read, and my dad's reading. I'm like, why are you reading? You're done reading. You're a physician. He got an MBA as a doctor. And I'm like, what do you He's like, as you grow older, if you're going to be successful in business, you got to learn so many different things, which is exactly what you said. You got to learn everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. It's crazy, John. We are at an hour. I knew this was going to happen with these two, because I think I could go on and on and on with these two guys for quite some time. I cannot wait to watch you guys both grow your businesses. I can't wait for Help a Hero to get even more traction. It's something that I just think is unbelievable. I think it's a great idea. I know John and I are going to get behind it 100%.
As am I.
Yeah, if there's anything we can do to kind of push it and next steps, obviously we'll link up after this. Like I said, we have this get together we want to do at the end of kind of summer, beginning of fall, but
We better start putting that together.
yeah, we have to. I mean, it's funny. It's mid-August. It's almost September now. We have to put that
We
together.
saw a tree turning colors yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, September's basically fall, which is crazy. I mean, it feels hot outside, which makes me sad. It's going to get cold soon, but definitely want to get behind Help a Hero, and I'm going to get together with you guys both definitely outside of here because this was a lot of fun. An hour went too fast. I keep telling John we might have to do 90 minutes. John always looks at me like, I have to work this stuff and then edit 90 minutes worth of footage, you jerk. Stop saying that. But thank you so much to both of you guys for coming on today. For everybody watching, I hope you guys had fun. I learned a whole heck of a lot from you two guys. Next week, we'll be back on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. This was a special because we wanted to get these two guys on. I'm going to be out of town, and we weren't going to miss this. So thanks again, guys. John, anything else before I'm wrapping up here?
No, sir. Have a good time in Italy. And
Thank
we'll
you, thank
see
you.
We'll see you next week.
Maybe I'll come back. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just do the next one from Rome.
Well, they say when in Rome.
Yeah, one in Rome.
The part they don't tell you is do a podcast.
Yeah, do a podcast. We did get our Skype set up to work last week, so we could actually do the magic of Skype from now on.
Yes, we could. We could give it a go.
John's like, no,
I'll
you
come in
better
on
be
Wednesday and
back
see if
in
we
here
can
next
get you.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Again, next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and thank you to our two awesome guests. I learned a whole heck of a lot of stuff today, and I hope you guys did too.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being on.
In 3, 2, 1.